right? And essentially that's what the business owners are doing is they want, not that they want, but what happens is the business is wholly dependent on them, and so it can't go off into the world. And so as I'm raising my daughters, I want them to be exposed to learning environments that I can't provide, right? I mean, so that means that I'm getting positive role models in their lives. I'm getting them involved with things so that they can experience things, and as they grow up, they can make their own decisions. They can understand where they want to go and where they don't want to go, and hopefully we build adults that can thrive in the world. But what that means is we have to give them the opportunity to do that.
Welcome to Sharpen the Spear podcast, where we help manufacturing executives command the front and win the floor. I'm Richard Walsh, creator of the Sharpened Impact methodology, and I spent decades helping leaders transform frontline teams, unlock hidden profit, and capture capacity they didn't even know they had. If you want to see where your leadership gaps are costing you and how to fix them, head over to grittolead.com and run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator today. Let's sharpen your edge and get started. And we are back on STS Sharpen the Spear podcast with another incredible guest. Brandon Moon is in the virtual house, and Brandon, no one knows Brandon better than Brandon. So Brandon, I need the backstory. Bring us up to speed and we'll get into the conversation.
Awesome. Sounds great. Richard, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure, getting to interact with you. I love your podcast. My background, I learned everything the hard way. I started in engineering and then kind of got fed up with the corporate life after getting an MBA, went into oil and gas consulting, and then eventually broke away from corporate and went to running the family business. That was about 2014. My grandfather was handcuffed to the business essentially. He was definitely one of those legacy business owners who all the customers would call him, all the employees would go to him with questions. Essentially helped him retire, but by putting on his hat. So then I wore all the hats. Then I did all of the 80-hour work weeks and all of the, learning things the hard way. And so eventually I hired somebody to replace me. It was amazing. Grew 60% organically the next year because somebody else could fight the fires and I could think about where we're going strategically. Ultimately, we bought two businesses during that growth journey. Both of them were fire sales, essentially because owners didn't plan, and the people who were left after owners had passed away were left to pick up the pieces. Ultimately, what happened after all of this growth, we grew the business 4x after taking over the reins was when my grandfather passed away. I can give you all the horror stories of a family business and what happens with the power struggle, and ultimately it was best for the business as well as best for my family if I just step away. So it took 2 months after his passing that I walked away, hat in hand, and said, you know what, there's a pattern here. There's a lot of business owners that have a job, they don't have an asset. So let's figure out a way to help them build an asset from all the hard work that they've done. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I have a business partner who focuses on the finances, where I'm more business development, operations, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Yeah, it is. Sadly, it's a familiar pattern, right? And I have a little saying I always tell people that, when I work with businesses, they're all doing the wrong things. Guys like you and I, we've seen it so much. We can just walk in and start fixing things because we know what to expect, kind of to a point, right? But really, that's what we're going to talk about: is really building this business around yourself.
Right.
And it's not that it's personality focused; it's owner driven.
Right.
You had the skills. You came into something. You started it from scratch. You're the best at what you do. You build it. Yeah, you get people around you. I did the same thing for the first 20 years. Got the best workers because who'd I hire? Me. People just like me, right? So I know they're going to be fine because they're just like me. So that was my trick. Okay. And we grew and we did things, but we couldn't ever escape from the business.
Yeah.
Right. You can't free yourself. You don't really get vacations. I'm not a vacation guy anyways. Yeah. So it was totally normal for me never to go. Until I learned that they're kind of fun when you do go. But really freeing yourself for what I call, doing profit, freedom, and impact. trying to
Mhm.
do something besides run a business,
Right. Right.
because you're serving the business, it's not serving you, right? And that's kind of what you're
Absolutely.
about, right?
Yep. Yeah, yeah, and to that point, right, is one of the first things that we advise our clients on is, when was the last time you did take a vacation, and how long the vacation was, and did the company survive? And the vacation can't be, I'm still checking emails from the beach. That you actually have to walk away, and that's the biggest test to whether you're going to have transferable value when you start looking for an exit. Is the business wholly dependent on you, or do you have all of the management people in place? Do you have all of the systems in place so that you can walk away from the business, and the business knows how to make the decisions? The business knows how to solve problems, continue to get new clients, continue to grow without you, being the puppet master for all of the things that need to happen.
Yeah, it's a hard concept for a lot of guys to grasp because it's a different way of thinking.
Mhm.
Okay. It's kind of like, to use this analogy, you birth this baby
Right,
and you raise this baby and you kind of want it to be a perpetual, 10-year-old.
right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't want to let it grow up and go out on its own.
Yes,
You got to let them go. You're that hovering mother or whatever it is, It's like
absolutely.
you gotta understand, like, just like with kids, I raise them to leave.
Right,
I mean that in a good way.
absolutely. Yes.
It's like when they go and they do their own thing and they work and they get married and they have look at that.
I use
Why
the exact
am
same analogy. So I have two daughters, right? I have a 5-year-old and I have an 18-month-old. And my goal as a father isn't to keep them as a baby, right? And essentially that's what the business owners are doing is they want, not that they want, but what happens is the business is wholly dependent on them, and so it can't go off into the world. And so as I'm raising my daughters, I want them to be exposed to learning environments that I can't provide, right? I mean, so that means that I'm getting positive role models in their lives. I'm getting them involved with things so that they can experience things, and as they grow up, they can make their own decisions. They can understand where they want to go and where they don't want to go, and hopefully we build adults that can thrive in the world. But what that means is we have to give them the opportunity to do that. We have to, and in a business, we have to bring outside ideas in. We have to do things to expose the business so that it can grow and survive and thrive and not be wholly dependent on the owner.
Yeah, it's so yeah, exactly right. I mean, that's I always tell them, I go, it's you start a business, you're working really hard, you're gonna wear the nine hats first 2 years. I'm
Yeah,
like, it's a given. You're gonna work really hard. I haven't found the secret sauce around working hard. Okay,
yeah,
you do. The problem is that 10 years goes by, you've repeated the first two 5 times. And that's
yeah,
where they're at, right?
yeah.
That's the hamster wheel. They're on it. And to get them off that, it's really, let me ask you, because I have my own answers, obviously, but when you're dealing with the owner, especially in the beginning phases, okay, you're coming
Mhm.
on to advise them and coach them and do this stuff. What's their what's your number one challenge to get that mindset to
Mhm.
shift? Do you know what I mean? I mean, is it just
Yeah,
the mindset, or is it like, because we've heard all the excuses, and you and I could
yeah,
spend
yeah.
30 minutes just sharing excuses from owners.
Right, right. Yes. So, I saw this in my own family, right? I saw this, there's always some kind of barrier for outside ideas. Whether that was learning the hard way or, making some kind of mistake with partnering with somebody you shouldn't have partnered with and that kind of stuff. And so, like, just like in hiring, right? If I hire a bad person, I can either do two things. I can either improve my processes in hiring, or I can not hire anymore. And unfortunately, a lot of business owners go into that. Didn't hire somebody successfully, and so I'm not going to hire anymore. And so they kind of create that glass ceiling, right? And so I think that that's the hardest part when we're having these conversations with owner is how willing are they to adapt? And a lot of times we're talking to owners that are 60 plus, right? And so one of the things that we've kind of done in our journey, and my partner and have been doing this for a year and a half now, right? We've started practicing our messaging. But one of the biggest things that we've adjusted along the way is our qualification process. Is this owner willing to adapt and willing to set their pride aside and understand that yes, you've grown and ran a successful business, but transitioning out of that business is a whole different animal. and it requires an advisory team. It requires, a good CPA, a good attorney, a good estate planner, typically. And if you want to go into selling, an M&A advisor, and the selling your process, or even getting a business ready for your kids, is a much more difficult process than what owners are willing to say. So let's talk about that. Like the kids, right? My kids are wanting to take over this business, and they're the succession plan. But have you talked to your kids about it? What happens if your kids have seen you working 80-hour work weeks, and they have a choice between whether to go work for Google or take over the business? They're going to go work for Google because it's a better paycheck and a lot less work, right? And so, if you set up your business as if you're going to sell it tomorrow, regardless of whether you decide to sell it tomorrow, that is the most successful business that you will have, because it is already maximizing its value. And then it's either ready for your succession plan to come into place, it's ready for a management buyout, it's ready for an ESOP, it's ready for all of the options. And so we preach optionality. Build your business so you have options.
Yeah, that's really important. I think another reason why you want to build it that way, I always tell them, I go, listen, you can have all the plans in the world. I'm going to do this for 10 years. I'm going to exit for this amount and all this stuff. Things change, economies change. I've been around a long time, right?
Right.
Running businesses and everything else. And I've been on the roller coaster all 35 plus years.
Right.
And there's times when you're going to have to sell your business, whether you like it or not.
Hmm.
Okay. And if you haven't built it with the intent to sell at some point, you're not gonna have all the things you talk about. You're not gonna have systems, you're not gonna have processes, you're not gonna have people running the stuff, right?
Hmm.
It's gonna be very unattractive
Right.
to anyone. So the smart guy who built
Hmm.
his to sell, he might not need to sell, he might come and be a buyer instead, and he's gonna give you 20 cents on the dollar
Right.
because he gets it. All you have is a bunch of depreciating assets,
Hmm.
no system, no process, minimal client list. And like he's
Hmm.
going to sweep that up and just going to add to his stack because
Yep.
he'll
Absolutely.
systemize yours, he'll assimilate it into his because he did it right. So
Right.
I love that you're saying that because we always want to be thinking in those terms. Okay, not only does it create freedom for us,
Yes.
right, in the business, but it's like I love what you said about the kids are going to take over. So many people, owners I talk to, my kids are going to take it. And like you said the right thing. Have you asked them? Because they
Right.
make this assumption. Them kids are watching you 80, 90 hours a week, never home, can't
Yeah.
go on vacation, missed all their games.
Yeah.
They don't want that for their family. I
Yes.
assure you. It's like that is not the way we're going. If you check out, they're going to sell that sucker in a heartbeat.
Right.
Okay, they're going to get rid of it, divide it up, and go back to their Google job. You're exactly right.
We had an outreach individual, and she was talking to a business owner, and she said, "Hey, what's your succession plan?" He said, "My son's gonna buy the business." She goes, "Oh, great! How old is your son?" He's 2. It's like, well, I think there's a little bit further along that he needs to go for you to really be confident that that's your succession plan. And furthermore, if you're a really caring father, why would you push something like that on them? It is
Yeah.
hard to be a business owner. It is very hard. And so why wouldn't you allow them to define whether that's what they want to do or not?
Yeah, you have to be cut from the entrepreneurial cloth.
For sure.
It is
For
just
sure.
there's so few people. And another thing you were mentioning, like when we walk in and talk to owners, they have to be coachable and trainable.
For sure.
Like that's your qualification process, like you're talking about. You gotta, are they willing?
Right.
What is their pain? What are
Right.
they suffering from? I mean, they didn't bring you in for nothing,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So
So to that point, right? We start. We're value advisors. We help you grow the value of your business using the 9 value drivers that all buyers are looking for. And if you maximize that, that gives you optionality, and you can do whatever, right? So we actually went in is our pitch was we want to maximize business value, right? That's our focus. But a year into this, we realized not every business owner is willing to do what it takes to maximize business value. And so we kind of pivoted that a little bit, and we said, okay, you know what? We're value advisors who will grow the value within the confines of what owner is willing to do. And that at least gives them the maximum that what they're the effort that they're willing to put into it. Because sometimes an owner isn't willing to let's say fire their family member who's doing the bookkeeping, because frankly, you need to have solid, good books, and maybe that person isn't well trained on bookkeeping. And so, how are you going to address that issue, right?
Yeah, navigating, well, personnel, family business, I might could spend a whole nother show on that, but it is a challenge, right? It's
Hmm.
like you get in the right place, people in the right seats. I've had that with family members, had to let them go,
Yeah.
like, and I let them go,
Hmm.
because I'm like, this is my reputation. I built this business,
Right.
like
Right.
you can't come in here and screw it up kind of thing, So
Right.
it is very, very challenging. But I think when people, when they're thinking about coachable and trainable, my best clients are, here's what they do. We have an hour coaching session. We talk what's going on. I tell them, here's some suggestions, do this, do this. Next week, we get back on the call. Guess what they've done?
Nice.
Exactly what I know, exactly what I said. They implemented everything. These are my best clients. My worst clients haven't done anything.
Okay. Fair
But
enough.
my best clients, I come back like every week, they're doing what I suggest. And now it's been 5 years and it's multiple businesses they own. They're this, or they're price, they're double, double
Yes,
everything. It's like it's amazing. Like, and this isn't patting me on the back. This is patting them on the back for taking action.
for
They're
sure.
coachable, they're trainable, they're going to listen, they're going to implement, and as long as it keeps working,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
tell me more,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, hey, every time I put $1 in the machine, I get $2 out. How
Right.
often should I do it?
As
Every day,
much.
all day. Okay,
Right.
like same thing,
Right.
get good advice, get more good advice. It works every time,
Right.
So though that's the rewarding part on the coaching end. You know what I mean?
That,
But the
exactly. That's what I would say. Is it's so gratifying because you're changing lives. I mean, the impact but on the flip side, I mean, you can quickly see the ones who are not implementing, and at that point, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be the best person for you, right? If you're not willing to do those things, and if you're only willing to put your toe in the water as opposed to implement the things that we're saying is going to change your life, then it's better for you and it's better for us to go focus on other clients who are going to really grow.
Yeah, because you're going to lose on both ends. They're going to
Yep.
tarnish your reputation,
Yep.
and they're going to be frustrated and say that coaching or advice doesn't work.
Right.
I have people like that. I get it. I go, you didn't do the work. I'm not your
Right.
employee.
Right.
Okay. I don't, I'm not your employee. Like, you got to go put this stuff in place. So, but
Yeah.
those are challenges we're all going to have. And again, it's an entrepreneurial mindset. And a lot of us, and when I ask about like mindset, and also when you're talking to an owner, what I have found, Brent, over all this time is, in reality, the owner is the biggest stumbling block. They're the biggest roadblock in the whole business. Okay.
Hmm.
And I don't recommend you start with that comment. Okay.
Hmm.
Unless you probably get the job, but understand that's your mission.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I have this little thing, I go, I'm going to go fix some other things in the business.
Hmm.
Okay. That are not perceived as the owner's fault. I'm going to go,
Right.
what he's doing, I'm going to fix those. I'm going to gain trust.
Right.
Okay. Because the idea is like, I'm working my way back up the chain,
Right.
because no matter what you say, it all starts at the top.
Right.
That's leadership in
Absolutely.
general.
Right.
Forget just owning the business, but because we're always in our own way. We have a way of thinking, a way of looking, a way of
Hmm.
building this thing. And we're not, it's so difficult.
Hmm.
You're kind of not really wanting help. You're kind
Yeah.
of angry and your shoulders dipped and you're running really hard. You don't
Right.
have time for someone to, tell you where to go, right? It's kind of like, I
Right.
don't know, like when your spouse tells you how to drive. Like I got it. I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm good. I do
Right.
stop. I know where the brake is. It's all good. So,
Right.
but that's a struggle. Okay.
Hmm.
So my big idea here is just, as an owner, when you're listening to this, like, begin to open yourself to,
Hmm.
like, consult. There's a
Right.
wisdom in a multitude of counselors. Like, you're bringing in people with expertise, with
Right.
what I call outside eyes. They can
Hmm.
see what you never will,
Right.
like in a
Absolutely.
snap,
Right.
like first 10 minutes.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
walk in and tell them who to get rid of.
Right.
I don't have to be there very long. Why does she work here? Okay, like,
Right.
okay, what are you
Right.
doing? I mean, it's, I try to be tactful, but sometimes
Right.
it's just like, yeah, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
it's one of those things, right? If they're doing the same thing for the last 30 years and they can't figure out why they can't, grow anymore or, get past this every problem, it's okay. But have you thought about somebody who is specialized in that to come help you look at that to address it, right? Because if you're in the forest as opposed to over the forest looking, you get sucked into all of the other stuff, right? The other trees that are around you. And so, having that aerial view is a game changer. And frankly, when I hired the COO, I hired him to replace me, right? I'm trying to get operations going and sales and engineering and try to make sure that orders are shipping on time and blah blah blah, right? And so my CNC operator saw how stressed I was, and he was like, you need to talk to this guy. And he gave me the resume of an old boss who was a plant manager at a drill bit manufacturer. And I mean, within the first interview, I was like, yeah, you can do exactly what I needed, what I've been doing. Take this off my plate. Come
yeah.
and help us. And that's when we grew. I mean, it was a game changer. So,
So let me ask you, do you ever have someone come to you since you're a value driver, right? And you're trying to increase the valuation of the business. Do they ever come to you with a valuation assessment and go, listen, I thought I was getting 3 million at least for this business, and they told me 40 grand. Okay, so
it
I'm a little confused. Can you
happens.
how do you help it?
It happens all the time. And the reason why is because people think, well, one, owners have an emotional connection to the business, right? I've been
Mhm.
working here for 30 years, and so I should at least get this. And what's amazing is they usually go to a financial advisor to get a valuation or whatever, but the financial advisor is going to ask them, you tell me how much it's worth. I can't
Right.
tell you. And usually it's you need X to retire, and so your business is worth X. Well, there's nothing in there, right? And so maybe they've gotten a discounted cash flow model that tells them it's worth something, or they're talking to their buddy on the golf course about what they sold their business for. And all of this goes into business owner's head that, oh, I can get this for it. But in reality, the other things that go into valuation that isn't just the discounted cash flow model is how dependent on the business is it to you, owner? If it's 60% dependent on you, and 40% on the business. So 60% you're bringing the clients, you're keeping them happy, all of those things. Discount that right off the top because a buyer is going to see that as risk, and they're going to discount it off the valuation. So if you think it's worth 3 million, but you're going to have to discount it because it's all based on you, then take that off the top. But there's 8 other drivers that are going to be impactful on it. How reoccurring is your revenue? How much systems do you have in place? How good is your cash flow and all of that stuff, right? All of that takes into account, should be taken into account when you're looking at valuation. And so many people only look at the cash value of the discounted cash flow model.
Yeah, I think a big takeaway here is to you have to pay attention to your numbers. You
Hmm.
really have to understand who's performing what.
Hmm.
There's a thing we always say too. Listen, you put people into systems, not systems into people.
Hmm.
Okay, you understand that? That means because I have a saying, it's really complex. It goes like this: everyone leaves. Okay, that's my saying. Like, so you got to understand anyone you have that if I came in and gave you your $5 million for your business, shook your hand, I can come in Monday and no one's there anymore.
Right, right,
Then what do I have? If
right,
it was all based on, Mary Jane, the office manager, doing
right,
9 different things, and this person over here, and they when they leave, it all goes with them,
right,
right? What have you built? Who can you
right,
replace? Can they be up to speed in 7 days? one Hundred
right,
percent. Autonomous, like doing their thing. Have you built out all these lanes and all these systems, all this process, all this training? Because the goal, like you're saying, come in, negotiate that final price, whatever it is, 10 million, 10.5. I want the check, shake hands. I got the check. I'm out the door. They're in. Nobody knows the business sold.
right,
That's the litmus test. And then they can tweak it a little bit as they go. You can do that. If that's in your mind, that's what you should think about.
right.
Can I have that kind of transition? Because that's a highly valued business.
It's managing risk because if a buyer has the risk of losing the people or there's not continuity after that transition, they're going to discount the price. And it's not because they're trying to lowball. And that's what the emotional connection that we're talking about. Everybody's saying, "Oh, I get offers all the time, but it's all lowball offers." Really? Is it lowball offers, or is that actually what the market is willing to pay for your business? And are you willing to do the hard things to overcome that by de-risking your asset, which is putting all the systems in place and actually contractually obligating your suppliers and maybe even putting some contracts in place for your customers. Anything that you can do to minimize that risk is going to have an impact on valuation. And so those are the things that you should be thinking about when you have the energy. What happens is people say, "Oh, I'm ready to sell, and so it's going to be, 2 weeks, and I'm going to be able to sell this." This isn't a coffee maker, right? I mean, this is the biggest transaction that you're going to have in your life, and it needs at least 2 to 3 years to actually put the things in place. Why does it take that long? Because a buyer's going to want to see 3 years of financials on how things are going, right? And so if you're implementing something today, you really should let it resonate and sit for 3 years, because that's what a buyer is going to want to see. Can it be done faster? Yeah, you can hire a broker and they're going to discount the price based on what the things are in that time. And frankly, they're going to be pushing for a transaction as quickly as possible because that's where their incentives are. They lie with the transaction, not with maximizing value, because they're ready to move on to the next transaction. And so that's the thing is if you actually want to maximize value, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of energy. So don't do this right whenever you're ready to retire. And get people who understand the process, because it's not the same as selling a toaster. There's so many things that need to be looked at.
Yeah, I've got a client, same thing. He's doing about 6 million a year, and he's like, I want to hit 20 million, I'm going to get out. All right. He didn't put a time frame on it,
Yeah,
but he wants to do it. So, like, okay, now let's make a plan.
right,
I know what to do to get to 20.
right,
Okay. And it's not going to be 6 months.
right,
Okay, not going to happen, but you can do it. People do a lot more. So that you bring up a really good point on the time. And another reason why you want to build it to sell, because then it's done.
right,
Okay. You're not going to spend your last 3 years building your business the way it should have been done 25 years ago.
right,
Because you're going to be upset because all that money you got, you know how much you could have already had
right,
if
right,
you would have done it the right way. So it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot twice.
right.
Same
Absolutely.
foot. You
And,
got
and people think that this is pie in the sky, but in reality is if you are thinking about this, your returns are maximized. You get much more cash flow that you can decide what you do with. I would recommend putting it more into investments so that when you get to that point where you need to figure out what your future state of the business is, you've taken off the stress of maximizing the dollar amount from the business, because you already have a nice solid nest egg that you've built over time because you've maximized your cash flow and you've looked at the bottom line instead of maximizing the top line, because those are two very different things. And whenever you go to the transition phase, you don't have to care about maximizing that value. You can still retire comfortably and maybe take less for the business, maybe even transition it to the kids, right? Because you've taken the stress off the business and you've given yourself options.
Yeah, we do a kind of an exit strategy, reverse engineer thing I do with companies, and my thing is like, okay, like what's your ideal salary? Maybe you are killing it. You're going to sell this for 10 million. You're bringing home seven figures. Okay. You
Right,
hit that million mark, bring that home. I said, okay. And then you get to 10 years and let's say you get 10 million for the exit price. Good. But what are you losing? A million a
yeah,
year
right,
in income, right? So if we're reverse engineering and we're out 10 years, what do you need to do? Create passive income through investment and everything else. That equals $83,000 a month.
right.
So now you get to 10-year, you get your 10 million, and you're still bringing in a million a year. That's a good deal.
Yes,
Okay. And
absolutely.
if economy was such that you didn't get 10, right? You got 8 or you got whatever, like you still have that million a year. Like,
Yes,
so your life isn't going to be catastrophically altered.
right,
Okay, because you're not getting the salary or that, right? So you're kind of trapped in there. You can't really leave. So yeah, the moral of the story is always, I always tell them exit strategy 2 times to do it. Before you launch the business and right now.
Right.
Those are the two times to figure it out. And guys
Right.
like you, Brandon, you go to him because valuation is a key
Right.
to exit strategy. It's like the number one driver.
Right. Absolutely.
You
Yes.
know, yeah, important stuff. Really, really important. People grab this because here's I see this even myself. You get working and you're doing stuff, and you start. I'm going to air quote making money,
Right.
right? And you are. You're doing better than if you work for someone.
Hmm.
You know, working more. You don't have a lot of freedom, but you're going. But then you're just caught in that, and that's the
Hmm.
cycle that you kind of can't get out of. You do like it,
Right.
you like what you do, but you can never get that release,
Right.
the proper delegation, right? You'll
Right.
abdicate, you'll tell people to do something. They won't do it well because you didn't tell them how, what you want, what it should
Hmm.
look like, what a success. They're going to fail, and you're going to say these people can't do anything. I've tried.
Right.
I tried to do it, right? Just like you're saying, I say that happens all the time. I'm like, did you? Well, they don't answer the phone well. Did I
Did you
didn't
change the
see
process?
anything? Did you tell them how to answer the phone or show
Right.
them?
Right.
No, they should know. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is going to be a bumpy road. Okay, with a mindset like that, it's going to be
Right.
hard to deal with you.
Right. And so one of the ways that we help clients is we kind of position ourselves as project managers, let's just say, right?
Nice.
So business owner has a goal in 5 years. We want to grow the business by 10x, let's just say, right? There's a way to do everything, right? You just need to figure out what the milestones are. Like you said, reverse engineer, go backwards. My partner's a CFA, so he does all the financial side. He can help business owner build budgeting and keep the financial controls and into the business. Usually they don't have those yet, right? Maybe one of their family members or somebody in the business is doing the bookkeeping, and once a year they talk to their CPA about filing taxes. But they don't have a fractional CFO or somebody who's helping them make educated financial decisions. My role in all of this is more as the understanding because I lived the business owner seat. Yes, I didn't have equity. That's one of those hindsights, learning the hard way, right? I should have negotiated equity with my grandfather before leaving the corporate life, but that's neither here nor there. And so, my background is, building a business where it was a lifestyle business, turning it into a growth organization, and getting into other verticals and the sales channels just by understanding what your competitors are doing wrong and changing your sales process to piggyback off of that, right? I'm capitalizing on the fact that all my competitors in the food and beverage space isn't doing the right thing, so I'm going to do the opposite of that. But that means that in aerospace or in medical, I actually have to change that process to do that. And so, understanding what the sales journey is, understanding the operations impact, all of that stuff is what my background is. And so we can help business owner who can't elevate themselves from the day to day to at least, even if we can't do those things, we can bring on the experts and help keep them honest for doing the things that need to happen, right? And so every step, every milestone is getting them closer to that goal in the end. And hopefully, the first thing that we do with business owner is we get them out of the day to day. They should not be doing the day to day. Yeah, let's say that they have a passion for doing business development, then we should get them into the place where that's all they're doing. They're not having to do the operations. They're not having to do the calling vendors anymore and that kind of stuff. Yeah, they want to have coffees with vendors and coffees with potential clients because that's what they're passionate about. Then fantastic. We need to find a way that the organization can do everything else so that you can continue to do what you love doing and yet the business still grows.
Yeah, we call it working on your 5%. The
Yes.
5% of the business only you can do, not
Yes.
just what you love, because some guys love swinging the hammer
Right. Right.
and they're nothing away. I had a guy, big hitter, and he started an excavation company he came back from Korea, bought a dump truck, built an empire.
Nice.
Okay, excavating, ready mix, all this stuff. But he'd go on the weekends and jump on a dozer on the job site and wreck everything. So finally, all the employees were like, "Listen, can you get this guy a hobby or something? Like he's just a nuisance." So
Right.
he literally went and bought 1,000 acres. I ended up building a golf course for him. He put in the airstrip. His buddies would fly in. Where he's out there every day 4:30, jumping on a tractor, man, cutting a new thing, knocking down. I'm like, they handled the problem, right? So the
Nice.
guy that built such a great business that ran itself,
Nice.
right? So he literally had nothing to do. Okay,
Nice.
so he's just, so it was, so yeah, he went and
It's an
played
amazing
somewhere
place to
else.
be. It's an
Right,
amazing
isn't
place to
it?
be.
So it's a good story. It's funny and it's like, they solved the problem. Get
Right.
get them to do something else. So it's all good. But yeah, so many times, it's not really complex,
Mhm.
but without the mindset that you have to go in and here's why with young startups and people just getting in the business with their first, second year, I'm only a mentor to those people
Mhm.
because they can't afford me as a coach.
Right.
And they also don't appreciate me as a coach,
Yeah.
right? They don't have any scars. I go, you got to
Right.
get beat up a little more.
For
You got to go
sure.
lose some money. You got to go make some more bad decisions.
Right.
Okay, because they're coming. I said, and then you'll appreciate me. But right now,
Right.
I'm just going to give you a little bit of help with that. And I tell them things that they're never going to do, like build real systems,
Right.
build a lane with guardrails. Okay, take a position, fully build it out so that person can function by themselves. They know
Mhm.
how to win on the day, the week, the month, the quarter, the year. How do they
Mhm.
succeed every day? That's how you have to think. I know you're doing all this other stuff, but if you're in it, you need to build that to put your replacement into it.
Mhm.
Because if they can drop it in and you can train them that way and they do that, like I said, in a week, they're doing that's one more thing, one more hat off your head, one more plate you don't have to spin.
Yep.
It's a
And
good thing, but it's hard to grasp that when you're young and driving to put food on the table and make a business happen.
yep. Absolutely. And it goes back to what you were saying. When you're thinking about exit, you should be thinking about it in 2 points. Either when you first started your business plan,
Mhm.
before you launched your business, or today, right? And it is one thing to be building your business, and it's another thing to be building your business knowing where you're going. Because you're going to make different decisions. Because when you get to crossroads, you're going to say, but that isn't going to get me closer to where I'm going any faster. And so I'm not going to go that way, right? And so that's another thing that I would really push on for anybody who's starting a business is understand clearly what you want out of the business. And I don't care what the time frame is. It can be 10 years, it can be 30 years, it can be 100 years if you think you're going to live to be that old. But it needs to be very defined about what you expect to be out of the business, and every decision that you make along the way should get you closer to that. Now it may go, right instead of forward, but you always want to be moving in a forward direction. Yeah.
Yeah, we call it. I call the exit strategy it's the ultimate business filter.
Hmm.
All your decisions are made based on your exit strategy because you're
Hmm.
going to get all these opportunities going to come to you. The opportunity fairy is going to come floating by when you start doing
Yeah.
well, and you go, okay, yeah, that seems really cool. Let me run it. Does it get me closer or further from my
Yep.
exit strategy? If it gets me closer, I'm in.
Yeah.
If it speeds me, then let's go. Let's put this
We
in place. But if not, I have to. It's a hard no.
Right. We were working with a client. I've known him for a long time. He was evaluating, and he's been wanting to add, build, or he's been leasing, and he wanted to buy a property. Right. He has a manufacturing business, and he's like, man, if I could just get out of this lease, I never know when they're going to be, closing this, or if I could just buy. Right. And I was thinking, okay, but you have this opportunity. Your exit you want to do in a year. So why would
Oh,
you take on another risk that's going to be very costly in the short term, right? If you were going to be in for 20 years, then that's one thing. That's a whole different investment. But if you've got 1 year, then that shouldn't be an investment that you're considering. You should be maximizing what your return is and get you to a point where you can be in front of an investor or whatever you think that transition is going to be, as a much profitable. In that same token, we had another one who was looking at whether they should implement an ERP system or not, and he was about 2 years away. And it's like an ERP system is really going to take at least 3 years to get over the learning curve and really start adding value to the business. And I'm oversimplifying it because it really depends on what the size of the business is, what the scope of the ERP system is, and all of that kind of stuff. But you should be planning for that. So if you've got a 5 year projection, then sure, implement the ERP system and start getting, because that value is going to be baked into the value of the business, and you're going to get multiples on top of that. The problem is if you have a much shorter runway, that's a headache that nobody wants to have in the short term.
well, and you're not, like the gentleman purchasing the building. First, there's no equity in it. You got
Yeah.
1 year. The other thing, if you're going to keep the building and it'd be a landlord, okay, that sounds good. Except the guy who buys the business
Right.
is going to like, well, you're my landlord. I mean, do I get 10-year leases, 15-year leases? Like,
Yeah.
what do I get? You're going to have to give them that, like
Yep. That's
airtight.
negotiation leverage
Right.
right
So,
there.
so now you're doing that, but I mean, I can see part of that, but you're exactly right. You don't make those kind of purchases.
Yeah.
Again, and it's just, and this is where advisory comes in, right?
Right.
You need to have the right people to go
Mhm.
to get the wisdom to make the right choices.
Right.
I get making quick decisions, it's important, but not quick, stupid decisions.
Right.
Okay. So,
Right.
like, take some time, make a phone call or two. I
Right.
mean, that's a 2-minute conversation with someone.
For
What do
sure.
you think doing this? Like, we just solved it, right?
Right.
Like it took nothing, right? So,
Right.
but it's really important, and this is where I struggled for 20 years. No help, Brandon. I wouldn't take help from anyone. And I always tell people I
Mhm.
had billionaire clients giving me advice because they really like me. I
Mhm.
did none of it.
Right.
Okay. And they were right on everything. If only I would have listened, right? I mean, friend after friend, colleague, people, nope, what do you know? I do this. I'm the greatest. I don't need any help. I'm a Marine. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna take twice so long, be twice as hard, but I'm gonna make it. And I'm not making it, right? 20 years later and
Right.
everything collapses because you didn't listen to anybody,
Right.
right? The sooner you can accept help,
Mhm.
look for those who can bring some value to your business, even if
Right.
it's just verbal.
Right. Yeah. And
Take a guy out to lunch,
yes. And
you
and it's
know?
always amazing how let's go back to the young entrepreneurs and start a business, right? They go and start talking to people about what their vision is, if they're actually going to share it, right? Some people just, harbor it and they don't share it. And good luck to them because that's really
Right,
hard to just do
right.
that all on your own on your own. But let's say they start sharing it and they get deterred because of the advice that they're getting. But is the people that's giving them the advice, have they done what they're trying to do? Always surround yourself by the people who have done what you're trying to do and only take advice from them. Because let's say, like, we had somebody that we were working with who would go and have conversations with her dad, right? And she would always get upset, the response that she would get. And I said, well, what does your dad do, right? You're an entrepreneur. You're starting this business from scratch. You're clawing to get to the next clients and all those things. What does your dad do? Well, he's an operation. He's a general manager for a store. That's completely different. He doesn't have the experience that you need to get you to where you are. So, am I telling you don't talk to your dad? No. Have your conversations, build your relationship, all that good stuff. Just don't expect him to give you the answers to solve the problems that you're having today. The people that you surround yourself can either be your circle or your cage. So make sure that the people that you're surrounding yourself are with the people that you're trying to get to.
Well, I think I kind of a hard rule, it's pretty non-negotiable, is you can't ask family their opinion about your business.
That's true.
It's biased
Yeah.
one way or another.
Yeah.
Good, it could be too good, it could be a whole lot of bad, right? So depending on family dynamics, that's not just like when you want to start. Don't bring them your idea.
Right.
I know this sounds terrible. Do not do that.
Right.
Go
Yeah.
share it with strangers
Yeah.
because they don't care.
Right.
Okay, they're going to give you your most honest feedback you'll ever possibly get. What you call it, what your name is. They don't figure they will hold nothing back.
Well,
You know,
even better, go to people who are your ideal client, right? Start picking their brain.
no,
And if they can start giving you advice on, yeah, I like that. When is it going to be ready, and how much is it going to be? Those are the right signals that you're onto something, right?
right.
But yeah, to your point, I love it. Don't talk to your family about it.
Yeah, it's just and I mean this in love. Like it's
Right.
just they're just biased.
Yeah.
You can't get a legit like well, if you get a mentor, like I said, you take a successful business individual who's in maybe the line where you want to be, like you're saying, who's done it, and you go to lunch and you buy lunch for them, and
Hmm.
like that'll be the best money you ever spent.
Absolutely.
Because with in an hour, you're gonna get 10 years of like wisdom.
Right.
I mean, that's what we do as coaches. We compress time,
Yes.
right? We have all this experience. We take 10 years, we put it into one, and voila.
Right.
You're 10 years ahead in one instead
Right.
of being broke in 10 years because all
Right.
the dumb things you did. So and I mean this from the heart because I was just that idiot
Hmm.
that took nothing. billionaires give me advice, and I that's a level of stupid that's hard to comprehend. Okay, I don't take it. So, I can make fun of myself because I've overcome, but it's just that you want to learn from guys like us who've been through it.
Mhm.
You've been through the family business stuff. Like I said, that's a major conversation. There's so many dynamics to that when you're
Mhm.
in something like that from a legal standpoint, from an emotional
Mhm.
standpoint, an operational standpoint.
Mhm.
It's like me with partners. Like I don't do partners. You
Mhm.
know the great saying, the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership, right? I
Right.
said because I'm a pretty darn hard worker. I want to build something, and no one else is.
Right.
So I'm air quote that, but like when that partner isn't doing as much as you, that's just animosity. Unless they have a 100% unique skill set they're bringing to the game,
Yeah.
hire someone you can
Right.
fire. Hire
Right.
the GM so they can fire the GM. Okay, just that's one of my little takeaways. Just it's always better when you can just say, today's your last day.
Right.
Thanks for all you've done.
Right.
Have a nice day.
Right.
Careful that door closes fast. Be careful.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's an interesting thing when you look at business from the whole, and you start talking to guys with that experience and they're out. They're kind of out there and you want to leave. You get in that and you'll kind of get this wide eye
Mhm.
like all that happens in
Right.
business. So
Right.
like if you ever get that opportunity to be the fly on the wall, to
Yeah.
be at a table with a bunch of successful business guys who are maybe having a couple of cocktails and talking stuff, you're going to hear some stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's really good for you to hear it.
And people, I guess, are sometimes, especially in that, young journey, they feel like they can't connect for whatever reason. Maybe they feel shy or whatever. But you'd be amazed on if you just ask to have that coffee or to have that lunch, how many are willing to say, yeah, because they were once where you were, right?
That's right.
And it's like one of the things that happened when I moved up to Dallas was I just went on LinkedIn and I went, messaged people who were kind of where I wanted to be. And yeah, I messaged 100 and only got two responses back. But the one that one of those two is still my mentor today, right? He's still somebody that whenever I feel stuck on something, I would still go to him and say, what about this? And so it's amazing if you just ask, if you just, and yes, you're vulnerable, right? You're putting yourself out there. But that's a part of being an entrepreneur anyways, right? It's
Yeah.
taking whatever ideas in your head and seeing if the real world's going to accept it.
There's almost no person who's achieved success in the entrepreneurial space that is not willing to help an up and comer.
Yes, I would agree with
Everyone,
this.
everyone doesn't think that. Oh, they're all about them, and no, you don't get like my billionaire client. This is a self-made guy.
Right,
Okay, he started with nothing, invented the bubble pool cover, then all this other like, but now he owns professional sports teams and manufacturing plants, and like, here's a guy. He's just a regular guy.
right,
Swing by, pick me up, take me for a drive.
right,
Like, show me your work. Well, where are we going? This guy just picked me up like have better things to do than hang out with me.
right,
But he just liked me, and he's a legit guy. And he loved what I did and how I did it. And I remember he walked by like I mentioned, he walked by. I'd opened the storefront. I was doing all these indoor water feature things, and he walked in. I had an employee out front, and he was doing something. He walked in, and he just looked at me, and goes, "Why does he work here?" Just like I've done to people, and he goes, you need to get rid of him today.
wow,
And I didn't know he didn't elaborate, and he's this little guy, he's really cool. And he left. I'm like, he was right. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, that's my confirmation. My dad did the same thing. He saw the guy on job site. He goes, what is he doing talking to the client? He's the
right,
pool boy. Okay,
yeah,
like, go, go. He goes,
right.
that guy's a problem. So I got to say, like, okay, he's got to go. Yeah, sure enough,
There's a pattern here.
yeah, there's a pattern. So it was just kind of funny, but that's those little wisdom moments.
Yeah,
You kind of take it personal because you probably hired him and you thought he's good, and you need the
right,
outside eyes. And when guys who are been around and
yeah,
gee, like they're doing it for you. They're not
right,
telling you to pound their own chest. They're
right,
like, dude, you have a problem here.
right. And I guess
And
to tie it back to the owner who's been there for 30 years, right? Don't let pride get in the way from where you need to go. Be even if you've done it for 30 years, and I certainly don't know everything. I know that I need other outside opinion. I need help getting to where I want to go. Even if you've been doing the same thing for 30 years, where you want to go isn't where you've been.
Yeah.
It isn't what you're currently doing. And so, yeah,
Yeah. Mastery is a continuous journey.
right,
Okay. So like, and I was that way too. I'm like, my ego was so inflamed. I
right,
mean, I'm winning awards. I'm on TV. I'm doing world-class exhibits. I mean, who's better than me?
right,
Who's going to tell me anything? Look what I did.
right,
My I was the main thing. But you get humbled. It all gets taken away. You lose everything, lose your business, lose your home. Got six little kids trying to do that. Oops, what happened? What
right,
happened? It's me,
right,
because I tell people on this brand, we'll touch on this a little bit. When your business becomes your identity, this is what happens to these guys because it's who they are. I go,
right.
you're going to make a lot of bad decisions
Yep,
because you're trying to maintain your identity. And when things are collapsing, like they were for me,
yep,
I was doing stupid things to keep it alive.
yep,
I either could have got the right advice to do it the right way or said, it's over. It's over
yeah,
now, not 6 months or 12 months from now. It's over
yep.
now. So I'm just saying the ego thing is a big, big deal.
Yeah,
There's
that identity statement that you're making is absolutely true. Like when I was running the family business, even though it wasn't mine, I definitely ran it as if it was because I always imagined it was going to be my retirement, right? And so even if the business structure wasn't equity, I didn't care. I ran it exactly like it was mine, right? And so when I ended up having to walk away from the business, I completely lost my identity. I didn't know what to do with myself. I had and frankly, a mentor helped me understand, go to F3, Fitness Fellowship and Faith. It's a group. There's 4,900 locations around the
awesome.
U.S. I showed up at 5:30 in the morning the next day, and it was free workout with this one is outdoors. It's males. They end in a circle of trust. All of those things, right? And it helped me get my feet back underneath me. It helped me understand that my family is my priority, and whatever I do next needs to be centered around being there for my daughters and being there for my family and those type of things, right? And then essentially 4 months later, it gave me the confidence to start building the consulting business and start building the next chapters, right? But that losing your identity is just, if you've never experienced that, it's hard to explain
Yep.
how lost you feel. And what do I do today, right?
Well, I tell people, so what I did, because I got to that point, I loosened everything, it's all gone. And I realized I woke up one morning, six little kids, 4 years and younger. Okay, I'm my wife, losing my house, losing my business. And I'm like trying to save this thing. And I'm like, start thinking about my kids. And I'm like, you know, I come home late, whatever they run, they jump on me, they call me, they want to be with me. In the morning, my son's chasing me down the driveway crying because I'm leaving in my
Right,
truck. And I got to look at that. I go, what am I doing? If I stay on this path where business is who I am
right,
and risking all this stuff, kids more is caught than taught. They're only going to do what they see. They're
right,
going to have broken relationships, failed marriages, maybe a business, maybe not a business. Who knows where all this is going to lead watching me? And I
right.
said, I'm not doing that. I had that window to the future. I got out of bed, went in my office, which was behind the home, went in and said, we're done today. Shut it
Mm,
down, went to my yard, had my last cup of coffee with my guys who have been with me over 10 years. Same guys. I said, guys, can't keep doing this. We're done. Had no idea what I was going to do, but I went back home, got all my uniforms, okay, some stoned the plastic, polos, everything else, started the bonfire and burned everything. I
wow.
said, I will never be owned by my business again.
Yeah.
Never. It's never gonna be who I am. So my next venture was gonna be a gym. That's what I did. I had to go figure it out and do all the other stuff in between. But I'm like, I had this little litmus test. I said, okay, we're gonna homeschool the kids, do all that stuff, right? So I said, okay, if my wife calls and needs me, I want to be there in 15 minutes. I go,
Nice.
that was my business plan.
Right,
Okay. What do I have to do to be able to do that?
right,
Oh, I need trainers. I need this. I need this. And that started the whole snowball. It was awesome.
right,
Now she didn't really need me, but it was in case she did.
right.
She still called, but it would be like then I go, well, I can build all businesses this way, and then it wasn't
Right.
so I could do that, but it was like, this is how you get the freedom in the business. And I did a construction business after that. Let's get into
Yeah.
that same principle. So once you grab a hold of that and understand who you are, you're not
Right.
your business, you'll build it differently. You
Yes.
know, think of it like, and you can do bare bones in this too. It's an income generator.
Right.
This
Right.
makes me money so I can have the life that I want.
Right.
It's a tool, just like my hammer and my sawzall. Okay, it's a tool. So my business is a tool to get the things I want,
And
right?
you had that North Star, right? You had
Yep.
the I want to be able to step away in 15 minutes, right? But you had and that drove the decisions that you were making. And it's amazing, and you could have been running your business for 30 years or you could just be starting your business. When you have that shift into this is what I want and this is where I'm going, you start to think differently and you start building it even if it's not what you're actively thinking about at the time. It just makes you make those decisions even faster to get to that, right? And so, even if you've never thought about where you're going, start thinking about it today. Where am I trying to go? What am I trying to build here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And start to make a clearer path for yourself. It's amazing how just pushing yourself in that direction, you're going to go in that direction.
Yeah, I tell people, Brandon, if I'm in my car, I'm in New York, and I want to go to California, never done it before, don't have a map. What's the potential I'm going to make it? I'll probably know the Gulf of Mexico
Right.
and think I'm there. Okay,
Right.
like, I don't know the different ones.
Water
Like,
looks completely different, right?
looks like California to me. I guess I'll speak a funny language, but here I am. Whatever.
Right,
But
right.
but you know what I mean. So you really got to have that. Going back to the exit strategy, this is your roadmap. It tells you when to hire people. It
Yeah.
tells you everything, right? I mean, it lays out a really structured plan for you to follow. And like you said earlier, you're there is no straight lines.
Right.
You're going to go a little left, a little right. You're going to go back. That's all part of the deal. Okay. No
Right.
battle plan ever survives the first shot. All
Right.
right. But put one in place anyways.
Right.
Yeah, because you got to start somewhere. You got to know where you're going. That's the big takeaway. That if you don't, whatever it is, and remember this too, as you get close to that 10-year exit, you're in charge. You can move the goalpost.
Absolutely.
You're having a blast making a ton of money. You really like this? Well, kick it out 4 years.
Yes,
Okay, keep
absolutely.
going. Do the next thing. I mean, you don't have to leave, right? So but I'd rather have that option than I'm forced to leave
For sure.
because I did a
For
really
sure.
bad job. Economy's in the tank. I'm getting $10,000 for something I worked at for 25 years. Okay, like that's
Absolutely.
a sad day.
Yeah.
Okay, you are going to outlive your money, and that's even
Right.
worse. Okay, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, Brandon. This has been a lot of fun. Really touching on we talked a lot about valuation. I know that's kind of your expertise here, but so let's kind of wrap up with some final thoughts on that because I think maybe we should have spent even more time on that. But we talked a lot about value and building value. Maybe we'll do another episode where we really dive into that
Yeah.
because you as a value creator, as a focus to improve valuation of business, that is a whole nother topic that I guess we could have got into, but we didn't. So we're
Great.
gonna have to do another one.
Okay, that
Okay.
sounds
And,
great.
and we'll spend it on that because I've helped so many guys, again, in the contracting and trades business, like just pricing alone.
Right.
Like, what do you actually bring into the table, and increasing their value, doubling, tripling their prices, doing all the fun stuff, right? We could talk about a whole thing. And you're doing it for people so they can exit their businesses,
Right.
right? So you're all really can you say 3 years, and to me, that's like tomorrow. Okay, 3 years. Like you've been around a while. Like 3 years is nothing. And
Right.
if you're able to do that in that time frame, I think people need to hear that stuff. And like, I don't care if you're in year 4 of your business, start
Right.
doing that. Because now
Absolutely.
you could have 10, 15 years of increasing value. Imagine where you'll be.
Absolutely.
Just imagine.
That's great. I would love to come back on your show and be a guest, Richard. This has been great. I'll leave you with a quick concept. There's really three values that a business owner should be thinking about. Those three values are one, what do I want from retirement? Like what is the value from the proceeds of the business? Two, you should hire somebody to do a valuation of your business, even if it's a discounted cash flow model, something, right? And third is transferable value. Transferable value actually is where they should be focusing. So the valuation that we're talking about is in the ideal world, right? In the ideal world, somebody in this industry would get this multiple, right? But that's not specific to your business. What's specific to your business is the transferable value. It takes to account the market valuation, the discounted cash flow model, as well as how dependent the business is on you, those 8 value drivers that we talked about. That's where the discounted cash flow model is. This is what we believe that somebody today is willing to pay for your business before you take it to market. And so closing that gap between what the transferable value is and what you're looking for in your retirement sets the strategy of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to develop and all those things, right? So that sets that roadmap. So if you're thinking about valuation, think about it in that term. Yeah, you're going to get a valuation from somebody, but how does that relate to transferable value?
That's awesome. And I thought of one other thing I want to bring up. Another exercise I'd have my clients do a lot. I go shopping for a business.
Yeah,
Go walk through the process. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to stroke a check.
that's a
But
great
go
idea.
go look at what they're doing, another plumber, another whatever, whoever they are, and
Right,
like, and then see what the asking price is. You go through it, you're gonna either see really good stuff you need to implement,
right,
or things like, man, I thought I was bad. Okay, this guy's wow, that's a mess. And he's asking how much? In a way, he's
right.
getting that, right? That's a really good exercise to do that every
Yeah,
couple of years as you're growing your business because it recalibrates you.
yeah, that's great.
You go see and learn from others and like, okay, that's a good exercise because yeah, because everything we talked about.
Right.
That's
That's
gonna
awesome.
leave it at that. But what a great conversation, Brandon. Again, I appreciate all the time today, taking that to share with our listeners and everything else. Been an absolute blast. We will do a part two and get into total valuation on business, building value. That'll be a good time. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next STS podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Sharpen the Spear podcast. If you're a manufacturing executive and you're serious about unlocking hidden profit, improving frontline leadership, and taking control of your floor, go to grit2lead.com right now. Run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator and discover your biggest opportunities are hiding. Don't leave millions on the table. Sharpen your spear, lead from the front, and win the floor. Until next time, stay sharp.